Hi, I'm John. I'm going to show you how I choose which lens I'm going to buy next. So a common question I get asked is, what lens should I buy next? And for me, it falls into two categories. Either you know which lens you want to get, it's very obvious. It's very obvious what lens you want to get. You want to go wide, you want to go long, you want to upgrade the lens you've got. But sometimes you don't know. You have a kit lens and you're like, ooh, what lens should I buy next? And here's a little trick I use to identify what lens I want to buy next. This is all based on using Lightroom. So I found this fantastic program. It's called, well, webpage, it's called lightroomdashboard.com. And if you go onto lightroomdashboard.com, you're given this interface and you can analyze your catalog. And basically what this does is it looks at all the images you've taken, what focal lengths and everything else, and it gives you nice pretty graphs. And you can use that information to tell if there's a hole in your kit or what lens you're using most and what you should upgrade and why. Bear with me. So the first thing you do is you find your catalog on your computer, which is usually somewhere in your pictures folder. Click Analyze Your Catalog on the Lightroom dashboard. It will load onto a web page where you drag and drop your file. Here you go. It tells you approximately where your Lightroom catalog should be, and also the file extension just down here underneath, in case you need to find it. I know where mine is, so you get it, and you just drag it onto there. So this will then load. It doesn't actually upload your catalog to any web servers or anything else. It just takes the information from it all on your browser. So even though my catalog is 1.5 gigabytes, I'm not having to upload it. It's just analyzing the information on there. It will take a few minutes. But basically this program does, this webpage does, what I used to actually do in Lightroom, which was look at my individual lenses, look at the focal lengths I use them, and to take it further. Great, it's loaded. When you first get in, you're given this. This is your dashboard. So this is actually how many photos over the last 2 years. So you can see up in the top right the year time span. How many photos I take each month. And it's quite funny, it's quite illuminating because you can see exactly when I've gone out in the field to take photos because there's a massive peak. And it gives you a little summary. Total files over the last 2 years, favorite camera, most used lens, all the rest. But for this purpose, I would use click on the lenses tab. First of all, it shows you all the lenses you've used in the last 2 year period. It tells you the apertures you're using and your favorite focal lengths. Now all this is very interesting information, particularly what lenses you use most. So the first stop I would do is I would look to see which of my most used lenses, and then I would analyze them individually. For example, if all you've got is your camera and a kit lens, you probably want to upgrade your kit lens at one point. So to illustrate this, I'm going to use an example of what happened when I got my 5D Mark III for the first time, when I made the shift to full frame, and I only really had one lens, which is the 24-105 to start with. That was my main lens I had. So if you go to the filters, you click off cameras and you click off lenses, and I'm going to select my 5D Mark III, and out of all the lenses I've used, I'm going to click the 24-105, and I'm going to apply this filter. So now it's only going to show me data over the last 2 years of my 5D Mark III and my 24-105. So here on the lenses tab it says, great, just one lens, 100% of photos, and it gives me my favorite apertures, f4, f6, f8 and f22. 108 pictures of f22, interesting. But this is the interesting bit for me, the focal length usage. And this is the main thing I look at to see if I need to upgrade the lens or what lens I want to upgrade to. Now looking at this, I have a completely bipolar distribution of the focal lenses I use. I have most of them at 24 and at 105. So I'm either really zoomed out to get the wide angle, or I'm zooming in a lot to get the tight angle. And I have very few images in between. So when I looked at this, initially I thought maybe I should upgrade to the 24-70. You know, so fantastic f2.8, it's a fantastic standard lens. But when I looked at this information, I realized actually I'm only shooting at 24 and at 105, and in fact a lot of these times at 105 I wish I could get more. So when I looked at this information, I decided, well, I only shoot wide and I only shoot long. I don't shoot in the middle that often. So I will probably invest on something wider than 24 or longer than 105. And in fact, that's exactly what I did. I bought the 24, well, in fact, I stayed with the 24, but I increased the image quality. I bought a 24 prime, and I bought the 70-200 because I was obviously trying to push more than 105. So that's a quick tip for you to actually look at your usage. If this was opposite, if what I was seeing in my top 20 focal lengths was a normal distribution with most of my images taken up to about 70 millimeters and very few at the ends, then I probably would consider 24-70, but I'm not. I saw it in this distribution. So if you have a question, you want a new lens, but you don't know what you want, have a look to see what you're shooting. Have a look at the statistics of what you're shooting and see if there's any distribution you weren't expecting. All right, I hope that's helpful. Thank you very much. As a bonus, if you actually look at what you're shooting and the focal length you do it can be actually quite illuminating. So when I was playing around with this, making this video, I noticed a couple of funny things. So taking over the last 2-year period, all the lenses I've used, all the cameras I've used, everything, all the apertures I've used, I shoot most of my images at 24 millimeters or 500 millimeters. And quite drastically, these are the top 2 focal lengths I have, and this is also reflected on the top 2 lenses I use, which is my 500 millimeter prime and my 24 millimeter prime. So after that, I have my 70-200. So I can even see my top 3 lenses, and I can see my least lenses. So that's another reason why I've never upgraded my 50 millimeter or anything in the middle, because for some reason I don't shoot standard focal lengths that often. I seem to be more wide or telephoto. So even if you're not looking for a new lens, it's actually quite fun to check this out and see what your shooting style is.